Iran's clerical body has made its choice on who will take over as supreme leader after the death of Ali Khamenei. The mantle of power now falls to his son, Mojtaba Khamenei. Mojtaba's elevation marks the first time since the 1979 Islamic Revolution that leadership passed from father to son. That decision goes against the wishes of Donald Trump. The U.S. president made it clear he wanted to be involved in the pick of Iran's new leader. And despite previously acknowledging Mojtaba as the front runner, he called him an unacceptable replacement. This morning, Israel promised it would kill any successor. It's the middle of the night in Iran right now, but that isn't stopping pro-government Iranians from taking their excitement to the streets. This video from Iranian state media shows a flood of supporters in the capital celebrating the announcement of the country's new supreme leader, although the choice is bringing in pushback from other Iranians who see it as a lateral move for the regime. Nader Hashemi, an associate professor of Middle East and Islamic politics at Georgetown University, joined us earlier today for a closer look at what Mojtaba Khamenei's selection could mean for the people of Iran. He said it would signal a continuity of the country's existing political system.
Yeah, the path will remain the same. That's why he was, that's why he was appointed, because he represents continuity with the existing political system. Internally, he has the loyalty of the ruling elite, so that's why he was elected. There's other problems that he faces, though, because the Iranian political system was predicated on the idea of a senior cleric being the guide of the revolution, the most powerful figure by virtue of his erudition within Islamic seminaries. Mojtaba Khamenei is considered to be a junior cleric, a mid-ranking cleric. It's like appointing someone with a master's degree to head an academic department. If he's presented with that position, the rest of the faculty who have expertise are going to raise questions. It doesn't work from that level. But I'm speaking, of course, within the framework of the seminary system within Iran. So he has that credibility problem. But politically, this is also a problem for two other reasons. One, his name is despised by many Iranians, so that doesn't help him, with public support. And in fact, it detracts from, his legitimacy in terms of the Iranian population. And then finally, Iran always presented itself as different from the other dictatorships in the Middle East, where the father would die and the son would be appointed, and there was effectively a hereditary dynasty. Iran always claimed that it had a much more open and popular system. Well, look what we're talking about right now. Iran does have very much a hereditary system, a dynastic system. And I suspect, that was a cause for concern among the ruling elites when they were thinking about succession. But because this is an existential moment for the Islamic Republic, given the overwhelming military assault on Iran, that he was, all things considered, the safest candidate, the one that had the support among the ruling elites. And that's why he's in this position right now as the new supreme leader.
That's really interesting, and what you pointed out about the one thing that Iran held over other countries, if you will, like Syria and so on, and that it did not look like this was a dictatorship, whereas now it does look like certainly like a dynastic succession. Let's talk about what this means for the people of Iran. You said, from little that we know of him and where he stands, he was known for a fairly tough crackdown on protests. What does this mean for the people of Iran and how they live?
Well, it means more of the same, more misery, more brutality. Iranians just prior to the war were reeling. There was a state of collective shock and anger and trauma over the crackdown in early January that reportedly killed, several thousands of people. And I suspect he played a leading role in that crackdown. There's no really political opening on the horizon, given the current structure of power in Iran. So there's going to be a deep sense of despair that those Iranians who are demanding political change, who are tired of this system, they're going to see it's just going to continue. So I characterize what's facing the Iranian people as a horrific situation where they're caught between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, a deeply brutal regime that is now undertaken the succession where, the son has replaced the father, representing more of the same. And then on the outside, Iran and Iranians are facing this disastrous war where the civilian death toll is rising. It's a brutal sort of military attack with no real concern for the Iranian people, and so they're caught in the middle. And unfortunately, my view is that when all of this is said and done, and the war finally comes to an end, Iranians will find themselves more impoverished, under a much more repressive, authoritarian regime, with very little prospects for their economic situation improving or their political situation improving, because this new regime that will consolidate itself will be more strongly entrenched in power, and they'll be able to invoke a national security crisis to do whatever they want, to round up any opposition. And so the prospects look, very grim for the Iranian people. I keep saying in all of these interviews that they are the big losers in this equation. And unfortunately, the international community, one wants to be objective about it, and this includes Canada as well, has really not put the plight of the Iranian people and their emancipatory rights and their democratic and human rights at the center of their foreign policy. It's largely been rhetorical, statements that we care about the Iranian people, but we don't really do much for them, particularly in this time of need. So we'll have to see how this all unfolds when the war is over. But that's a conversation for another time, because the war is still very much ongoing.
That was Nader Hashemi, an associate professor of Middle East and Islamic politics at Georgetown University.